Welcome to the webinar. Business continuity and disaster recovery are important topics for every business. Today, we're going to take a look at the question, what happens if your business must close due to a natural disaster? 5 questions to guide your emergency preparedness planning. A business disruption is likely, not just a possibility. Here are some worrisome statistics for you. According to a recent NFIB National Small Business Poll, man-made disasters affect 10% of small businesses, whereas natural disasters have impacted more than 30% of all small businesses in the United States. It's important to be prepared. According to a recent Touche-Ross study, the survival rate for companies without a disaster recovery plan is less than 10%. According to the AMA, about 50% of businesses that suffer from a major disaster without a disaster recovery plan in place never reopen for business. Why did I decide to share this information? Many small and medium-sized businesses know that they should have a plan in place, but think they don't have the time or know what to do to even begin creating a plan. I've been working with small business owners and know how difficult it is to plan for emergency situations. Large corporations call this business continuity and disaster recovery. Small business owners simply call it being prepared. Planning is important because it can mean the difference between staying in business or closing your doors. Being prepared can mean the difference between reopening your business or going out of business forever. Let's look at some reasons why every business needs a plan. Let's consider Murphy's Law, which states, if anything can go wrong, it will. There is always a choice of solutions, one of which will be disastrous. And at least one person will want to prove number 2. Without a plan and people who know what to do in an emergency situation, you can almost guarantee that someone in your company will try to prove the second statement. This can be disastrous for your company and can be minimized by having a plan. So let's look at some other reasons to plan. Here are 4 reasons you need to be prepared for an emergency. Number 1, it will save lives when, not if, a disaster strikes. In recent years, we've seen an increase in the number and severity of natural and man-made disasters. Being prepared makes sense. 2, the survival of your business depends on it. Without a plan, you will stumble around and take far longer to return to operations than is necessary. Number 3, you have an obligation to customers, employees, and yourself to be prepared. You're in business for a reason. You supply valuable goods or services to your customers, and they rely on you. People are counting on you for their livelihood. You made the commitment. It's important to keep your promises. 4, you may have legal or regulatory requirements. Some industries require planning for you to remain in business. But why should you listen to me? I've helped businesses create their own business continuity disaster recovery plans. I've personally taught workshops for small business owners and not-for-profits how to do this successfully. But don't take my word for it. Take a look at these testimonials. Terry Venable, CFO of United Way of Allen County, indicated that she would recommend my services to other organizations. Here's some workshop participant testimonials from anonymous course evaluations. This course exceeded my expectations. It was a great presentation that made us think, and great info, easy to understand and easier to implement. So, how will planning help your business? Here are some things that I've identified. It allows you to maintain service to your customers, often when your competition can't. It minimizes the time needed to make decisions during a disaster. You present a calm culture of preparedness and action to your customers when a disaster occurs. This enhances the trustworthiness of your business. ensures the stability of your organization so you can continue to stay in business. preserves your ability to meet customer expectations and service level agreements, protects your company, your reputation, and your brand. It can also reduce your insurance costs and coverage amounts. And finally, it's simply good business. In this webinar, we'll cover the 5 questions every business owner or manager needs to ask in order to plan, and some no-cost, low-cost, and internet strategies you can implement immediately. Let's get started. Before we get to the first question, I'm often asked, what's different for a small or medium-sized company versus a large company or corporation when it comes to planning? The answer is scale. Many of the planning components and requirements will be the same for every size business. It's just that a small or medium-sized business will not have the same level of detail or complexity. The first question every business needs to ask is, what could happen? This is called performing a risk assessment. Depending upon where you live, you could potentially experience different types of disastrous events. In the Midwest, we aren't so concerned about tsunamis or mudslides. However, tornadoes and winter storms can be disastrous. Identify the most likely events and then create a statement for each one that describes the impact to your business, your customers, or your suppliers. How likely would it be that the adverse event could occur? For example, what would be the impact of a flood in your area to your customers? What kind of delays in providing products or services could they expect? Once you have your list of what could happen and the impact to your customers, suppliers, and your business, the next question is, what processes, not procedures, need to be continued? We make a distinction here between the process and the procedure. The process would be payroll. The procedures would be the steps to pay the employees. This is called business impact analysis. The analysis helps to answer the question, how long can you be without that process? This could also be asked if one of your suppliers was affected by a natural or man-made disaster that did not physically affect your organization. For example, a severe storm in the east that disrupts your business in the Midwest. In a business impact analysis, you're looking at the activities that must be continued under any circumstances. We call these critical business functions. They often fall into one of these types of categories: financial, operational, legal regulatory compliance, customer, or reputation. For example, a critical business function in the financial category would be payroll. You could probably delay paying other bills for a few days, but meeting payroll is generally critical. If your business is regulated, there may be some critical functions that must continue no matter what happens. You would need to identify them so you can adequately prepare. Another consideration in a business impact analysis is identifying vital business records. What documents, records, or data must be maintained in order to continue to operate? The requirements will be different for every business, but some common records include contracts, customer contact information, accounts receivable, and personnel records. Planning includes identifying the information needed and then figuring out how to access the information in an emergency situation. The third question centers around the design of your emergency response. The question to ask is, what is your first response in the event of an emergency? What will you do first? Who is responsible? It's important to have a plan in place for managing your response to the emergency. The first step in this process is to identify the triggers that will signal a response is required. If a fire alarm goes off, where will people go to be safe? How will you know everyone is accounted for? Do you have evacuation routes clearly marked? If an accident occurs, who is your first responder? Is someone trained to provide first aid until the ambulance or other first responders arrive? What about people who are less mobile or handicapped? Do you have an evacuation plan that ensures their safety? Use these questions to begin to define your emergency response to an adverse event. The next step is to take everything you've learned thus far from asking questions and develop your emergency response plan. This question asks, how are you going to continue to serve your customers during and after a natural or man-made disaster? Typically, business continuity planning is made up of a number of other plans. These components are often developed as part of an organization's policies and procedures. Business continuity plans can include a risk management plan, which identifies potential risks to the organization and describes how to lessen their impact. A crisis management plan, which identifies the steps to deal with a crisis before, during, and after it occurs. An emergency response plan, which identifies the initial steps the organization will take to protect employees and save lives. The emergency evacuation plan lays out the procedure for leaving a building and accounting for all employees in an emergency situation. Your disaster recovery plan describes how the organization will recover following an emergency situation. The function restoration plan describes how the organization will restore the critical business functions and their priority for restoration. The training plan outlines the steps the organization will take to ensure everyone receives training on all of the plans. Testing and maintenance plans describe how the organization will make sure the plans are effective and are updated regularly. The security policy plan describes how to ensure the safety of employees in the workplace. And finally, the business continuity management plan is the roadmap for continuing operations under adverse conditions. The business continuity planning process answers the question, how are you going to continue to serve your customers? The plans are often divided into 3 stages. How to continue operations during the crisis, how to rapidly restore operations in the event of a complete disruption, and finally, how to recover fully from the disastrous event. Use the answers to these questions to develop your plans. The final question to consider is how to make sure it all works. In order to answer this question, you must test your plans, making sure everyone is trained and knows exactly what to do based on the triggers you have defined. A plan is only good if it's shared and understood. Planning is not a one-time activity. It's important to review your plans at least once each year and update them as needed. We often encourage businesses to get a basic plan in place for year 1. Then, every year, add to the plan to make it better and more complete. Low-hanging fruit are items that can be done quickly and easily without incurring additional expense. The question we ask is, what no-cost, low-cost, or internet strategies can you implement immediately? The first step in gathering this information is to identify the records and information that you can put together quickly. Let's talk about a few of the kinds of low-hanging fruit you can manage quickly. The first no-cost strategy is to gather contact information. Put together a list of contact numbers and addresses for your staff, your customers, suppliers, and vendors. This information should include day and evening telephone numbers, address, and title. For vendors, keep a summary of what you buy, and for customers, what you sell to them. Another no-cost strategy is to complete an inventory of all the equipment, computers, and software for your business. Include dates of purchase, cost or estimated value, where it's located, serial numbers, and more. This will be helpful for insurance and recovery efforts following an adverse event. Another no-cost strategy is to determine a communication strategy. How are you going to be in contact with staff and customers? Your response could be a call tree for contacting employees, a separate toll-free number with special message, or a website could also be used. Social media is becoming more important and an easy way to get your message to those who need it. Where do you keep copies of documents and important papers? Have you scanned contracts and critical documents and saved them off-site? Cloud storage has become reasonable for most small and medium-sized businesses. You could also just store your documents on a DVD or thumb drive. Some low-cost strategies include simple things like having fire extinguishers and training your staff in the proper way to use them. Your local fire department or fire extinguisher provider can often be a good source for training. Battle boxes are another low-cost strategy. Identify what you think you will need to have on hand immediately during an emergency. You will probably have multiple battle boxes. For example, one box might be for office supplies and order forms. Another box could be used for rescue or maintenance. The boxes should be examined every year and updated so they are always ready when they are needed. Some easy internet strategies include making sure your antivirus and firewall security is up to date. If you use cloud storage, be sure to have a plan for backing up your current data regularly. Another easy internet strategy is to make sure you use secure passwords and don't leave them on Post-it notes on your computer. A safe password, for example, uses upper and lowercase letters with numbers and symbols. Passwords should be at least 8 characters or more. So here's what we've covered in this webinar. Why you need a business continuity disaster recovery plan. The 5 questions you should ask to start your planning. Some low-cost, no-cost, and internet strategies you can implement immediately. So what should you do next? Get started today to begin your planning process. I know it's a lot to take in, but if you use these questions to guide your planning process, you will be well on your way to preparing for a disastrous event. As a gift to you, I'm sharing my planning mind map. This one-page guide is the same one I use when working with my clients. Go to the website stepbystepbusinesscontinuity.com/BCDR and download the free mind map today. For those of you who want to take this to the next level and create your business continuity plan without spending a lot of time and money, follow proven steps to create your business continuity plan, receive coaching to ensure you take action and get the planning completed, I've got something special to share with you today. Introducing the Business Recovery Blueprint, how to create a business continuity plan. When you sign up for the Business Recovery Blueprint, you'll discover the 10-step process for getting your business continuity disaster recovery plans completed so you can stop worrying about how to find the time and resources to protect your business. Step-by-step lessons that guide you through the planning process. The key decisions you need to make to create your BCDR plans. Email response to your question about each lesson for better results. Feedback on each lesson to identify areas for plan improvement. Here's exactly what you get with the Business Recovery Blueprint. Step-by-step instruction on how to gather information and write your BCDR plans. All 10 lessons are delivered in PDF format so you know exactly what steps you're going to take and in what order. Email answers to your question about each lesson to ensure you're on the right track. Feedback on each assignment to improve your documents. And finally, encouragement and deadlines to ensure you complete your planning in a reasonable period of time, usually in less than 4 weeks. Get the Business Recovery Blueprint today for just $297. Bonus number 1, a 20-minute phone consultation where you can ask me questions following completion of Lesson 5. Bonus 2, one 20-minute phone consultation where you can ask me questions following completion of Lesson 10. And there's one more thing. I'm going to drop the price. As a thank you for attending the webinar, I'm going to drop the price from $297 to just $147. That's just about 50% off the original price. I encourage you to get on board with the Business Recovery Blueprint now. So if you want to create your business continuity plan without spending a lot of time and money, follow proven steps to create your business continuity disaster recovery plan, receive coaching to ensure you take action and get the planning completed, then go to this link right now, businessrecoveryblueprint.com/5questions special. Take action today.